What's up, guys? It's me, Tim, with the Gutter Growth Podcast. I got a special guest back again, Rob Gerling. What's up, brother?
How's everything going?
Good, man.
Thanks
I had you on that. What's that?
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, man. I had you on not long ago, but I
Oh.
guess stuff happened since then, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, life happens. It can change like in a blink of an eye, literally.
Yep, no doubt. Yeah, someone had reached out to me and told me that you fell. I was like, what?
Yeah, I would never imagine it would happen to me. Always safe and just it happens so fast, and you don't even got time to do anything. You're kind of there for the ride. It's like, all right, I guess I'm going down.
You know, and I looked at the picture. You showed me the picture of like the area that you fell.
Yeah.
That would have been an area no one would have thought about falling.
I know it wasn't very high up. It was only a 9-foot ladder, like an A-frame ladder. But the thing was that the ground was a little soft. A lot of times people dig around their houses. They're planting flowers, stuff like that.
Was it mulch?
No, it was dirt. But I think they were in there digging, which I can't blame them. But it was definitely a little soft, maybe from the rain too. They were planting flowers, stuff like that. But yeah, what happened was I was on the ladder just doing a small piece by myself. And like the front of the ladder started digging in the dirt. The dirt was a little soft. Yeah. And I started tipping the ladder. And before I know it, the ladder was coming out from under me and I was going down and I landed on brick steps. And I knew it was pretty bad. And I looked over and I saw my foot was like facing the wrong way. And I'm like, oh, jeez. And then my guy, he's like, they're going to throw up. And I'm like, call 911. I'm like, I can't move. He's like, dude, there's pieces of your bone over here. There's like bone that like splintered all over. Wasn't like a whole lot of blood, luckily. But I'm like, I can't even look at this because, that's even in the ambulance. I was like, wow, you're doing so good. You must have like a really good pain tolerance. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not looking at it. I don't want to think about it. And yeah, when I was on the ground, I called my fiance and let her know, like, hey, I just fell. You might want to go to
stoic.
What's that?
You were stoic?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I've never been in a situation like that before in my life. I've never stayed in the hospital. I've never had any major injuries. I know you've had some stuff go on. But I've generally been pretty healthy and never, I've never been in car accidents, anything like that. So it was pretty scary.
Damn, man, that's crazy. What did you hit? Just like the edge of the brick?
Yeah, so there was like brick steps, like red brick steps. Yeah. And my ankle must have landed right on them. And like I said, it immediately just bent my foot the wrong way. And like I said, there was like shards of my bone on like the freaking sidewalk, my worker said. And he was like almost going to throw up from it. And he's like, he couldn't believe seeing it, and that's why I was trying not to look at it myself. But it was pretty impressive. It was actually in Franklin, Tennessee, which is pretty well-known area. And
I've done work there before.
And they got Williamson County Medical, like their ambulance service, and they were there within like 3 minutes too. It was very fast. I was super impressed.
3 minutes.
Yeah, and it was a gated community too, so they had to get through the gate and stuff like that. But it was very impressive how fast they got there, and they put me in a stretcher. I'm a big guy. Well, the first thing they do too, which was pretty embarrassing, is they cut all my clothes off me, my pants, my shirt, because they want to check for other injuries.
Yeah.
You hit your head? Did you hit your ribs? And I'm like, no, I don't believe so. Just my leg. I hit damage on my hand, and just look at it, finger and stuff like that. And I had to put stitches in my hand. But yeah, they cut all my clothes off me, so I'm laying like freaking in my boxers in this customer's house. Talk about embarrassing. And then they picked me up, put me on the stretcher, and brought me in the ambulance, and immediately rushed me to Vanderbilt, which is like, luckily for me, one of like the best well-known hospitals in like the South in all Tennessee. Yeah. Well, it's like super thankful I got to go there.
So they're used to doing those type of surgeries and stuff because you had surgery.
Yeah. The surgeon who actually did mine, he's actually got like his own Wikipedia page. He's like very well known. Like, I don't think you could find a better well-known surgeon to do it. Like, I'm so thankful that like I got like, because I'm from like a small town in New York, and I couldn't imagine being up there and like going to the hospital in like a small town with like this guy who never probably does these surgeries and like.
Well, it could be bad, bro. I mean, I'll tell you what. When I paralyzed my arm, I went to a smaller hospital, right? My arm wasn't paralyzed when I went in; it was just broken.
Really?
And, yeah, dude, they screwed me up, and they had to fly me on a helicopter to a better hospital.
Wow.
So like, you're lucky that you just ended up right at a good hospital. Because it can be bad if you're at a shit hospital.
There was smaller hospitals around, but the paramedics, they were like, no, dude, you're going to Vanderbilt. He's like, you're getting the best care in the state, arguably one of the best hospitals in the South in general, Vanderbilts are actually like, it's the family that like, the Vanderbilts, like, like from New York that originally like started.
Oh, it's that big name, right?
Oh yeah, it's Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Okay.
They originally they gave.
What if 3 days could unlock the growth your gutter business needs to dominate your market? Gutter Summit 2025 is not another conference. It's your shortcut to the exact strategies and tactics real contractors use to scale aggressively. Get inside the minds of industry titans, hands-on breakout sessions, and high-impact networking designed to fast-track your growth. Not only will you get an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of Spectra and hands-on product training, we're also giving away over $200,000 worth of prizes, goods, and services, including 2 gutter machines, one featuring new tech and one Spartan model. On top of that, VIP ticket holders gain access to private bourbon tastings, premium cigars, and next-level networking conversations that turn into 6-figure deals. We're limiting this summit to just 260 hungry contractors. Once we're sold out, we'll unfortunately have to stop all sales and start a wait list for the following year, so time is of the essence. And the longer you wait, the more you'll pay. Ticket prices will rise each month leading up to the event. Gutter Summit 2025, Atlanta. Practical tactics, proven growth, unparalleled value. Your next level breakthrough starts here. Reserve your spot right now at guttersummit.com because winning businesses take action.
They gave him like $1 million to start the hospital back in like the 1800s. Wow. And they have a big college here. It's huge. I'm so thankful for that.
So what did they do? What happened? Like, tell us a little bit about the actual injury.
So when I got to the hospital from the ambulance, they brought me right into the emergency room. There had to be 15 people there, and they're like pumping me full of all this stuff, trying to help me out with pain, stuff like that. They're like, give me this. They're like, oh, do you still feel it? Let me get up. And they're like, give me this. And they're like, all this stuff they're giving me. And then the surgeon comes in and he's looking at it. He's like, yeah, we're gonna have to put you under, like partially kind of sedated, like you kind of know what's going on, but you're not like fully out. Right. And what they do is they like put it back in place. Because obviously my foot was like facing the wrong way. So they put it back in place and they wrapped it and put it in a splint and stuff like that. And then I waited through the night, and then the next morning, they took it all off and actually went in and put the screws and the plates and it's all titanium and actually did it. And that was like a 5-hour surgery, but I was fully out for that.
2-day process.
Yeah, that was my first time ever being under as well. It's pretty impressive too because you don't feel anything, and you wake up and you're like, it's done. You're just surprised, like you have no idea what was going on.
So you're gonna have steel in your?
It's titanium, yeah.
Titanium. So that's permanent.
Yeah. Someone was saying that they possibly would take it out if it ever bothers me, but my fiance is actually a physical therapist, and she was like, yeah, it's very rare that they ever will take it back out or make adjustments to it. Unless it's like bothering you, you're having some kind of reaction to it or something like that. So most likely to be in there as long as I'm around.
Titanium's a type of steel, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very, very high grade medical. And when I actually got the hospital bill, I was looking at it, they charged, it was like $120 for each screw. The plate was like $400, because it's all itemized. So you could see all that. So
that bill came to what, like 90 something grand or?
Yeah, it's going to be over $100,000 all said and done. I still haven't got the bill from the ambulance or anything like that, but hoping that
those are like $750 or something.
I don't know. I'm thinking a couple grand because it was probably 20-mile ambulance ride, and like I said, they had a whole bunch of people, so it is what it is. But
I had an ambulance ride it wasn't 2 years ago. It was like a year and a half ago. I think it was like $1,250, but it wasn't far. But I did the same thing, man. I fell on a short. I was on a wall that was like maybe only, 6 feet high. We underestimate those short falls because it's like you got no time to react. So I think it's like we fall harder almost.
I've had it happen to me before. Like you're on a hill and the ladder starts going or something like that, and I've jumped off and caught myself. That's happened probably 3 times, and it's like you're kind of like a cat. You run out of lives, and eventually you get hurt.
You already had 11.
Yeah. And we're super careful. Like I'm not cheap at all when it comes to material. I mean, like like buying like tools and ladders and standoffs.
Safety.
I buy all the best stuff. I do not cheap out on that stuff at all. I tell my guys, we use standoffs for everything. We don't get on ladders without checking them. If we got to put wood under them, even though it takes more time, like we have somebody hold them. We're super, super careful. Like, we use pitch hoppers. We do everything we can. Like, I don't cheap out at all on safety stuff. But accidents still happen, unfortunately.
And I guess you didn't have work comp or nothing on your
No, so that's the thing about workers' comp. I do have workers' comp. We have general liability. But what my agent is telling me is that because I don't take a paycheck, which I should, it only covers actual employees who draw a paycheck who are on payroll.
Right.
The owner's typically excluded. You can have coverage for that, but you have to fill out like a special form and elect to get coverage for the owner. And like I said, I didn't when I first got workers' comp over a year, it was probably 2 years ago. I told them I was working in the business like an owner operator at the time.
Yeah.
So they should have known to ask me, hey, we can add you to this. And even if it was more money, I would have paid it,
the agents and accountants, agents, all those people, like they think that they're like doing you a huge favor to save you money. Yeah. So all they think about is saving you money. But realistically, I mean, what's the cost of saving that money?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would have paid whatever it was to have that kind of coverage, because now I've got $100,000 in medical bills, and workers' comp won't help me. My general liability won't help me. Lots of people are telling me I should go after the homeowner's insurance, but I just feel so bad doing that. They're such nice people, and they've actually checked up on me many times. The homeowner, actually, he's like a very well-known doctor in the area.
Yeah,
which is another funny thing. I had to call 911 at a doctor's house. But I feel like scumbag, like everybody's telling me, they're not going to notice. It'll go on their rent or their homeowner's insurance. And I'm like, I just feel so bad doing that, and I'm hoping that I can work it out otherwise, like the hospital, from what they told me, because, this is only my second year of business. So the first, couple of years I've had a ton of write-offs, trucks, trailers, all sorts of equipment. So you don't really make a ton of money your first 2 years. Even though my personal taxes, I didn't claim a lot. Like my accountant, she didn't have me claim a lot. So I'm hoping that using my tax return, the hospital is pretty confident that they'll be able to at least do something for me, even if they do half or 80% or, something. So
you mean like a discount? Like they'll
it's like hardship, indigent, I guess they call it.
Okay.
People that, are self-employed or don't have health insurance, they have programs for stuff like that. So I'm hoping that they can definitely work with me on that, because the bill payment for like $96,000, whatever it was like $1,500 a month for however many long. I'm like, geez, that's like rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Yeah, no, it's I always had myself on payroll when I owned Gutter Pros, but I did the same thing during the Christmas season, because I'm like, it's like an 11-week season, so it's just like, I'm like, I didn't put myself on it. And then I was helping them on takedowns. And to be honest with you, I shouldn't have been out there, because I got hurt, right? And like, they didn't even miss a beat the rest of the schedule. Like, I had no reason to be out there. Like, I didn't save them any time, to be honest with you. I thought I would have, but I didn't save them any time.
Sure.
The rest of the season, nothing got rescheduled. So it's like, I didn't have to be there in the first place. And I think that, a lot of us owners, we want to be there and just, have our hands on everything and do all the work. It's hard in the beginning to get away from that. But I almost think like you owe it to your business, because if you don't do that, like, your business is at risk if you get hurt. Like,
like you said, for the first time ever, I was literally stuck in bed. I'm just finally getting up to the point where I can move around and stuff like that. And have to have people wait on me. I've never, had to have someone to get me a drink, have to have someone to give me food. Yeah. I've never in my life had to do that. I have to have help going to the, using the shower. I have to put like a plastic bag around my leg. It's like, I've never been in a situation like this. Truck needs gas. I got to send my fiance to do it. Like, there's just so many things you don't realize, day-to-day stuff that you can't do when you get hurt,
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend any owner operators out there that make sure, and I actually post this in the groups too, make sure that you have that coverage that covers the owner for your workers' comp. And you should definitely be paying yourself something too. That's the other thing too, because workers' comp actually goes off your salary. You know, they pay you like 2/3. So if I was paying myself $1,500 a week, I'd be getting $1,000 a week as long as I'm out.
Basement flooding, roof leaks, mold.
No. I have to clean the gutters.
Go back to sleep, honey. We installed one gutter guard.
Prevent unexpected and costly damage from clogged gutters. Protect your home with one gutter guard, the trusted solution for gutter protection. Call us today to schedule your free gutter inspection and estimate.
You know, and that would really help me out, you know, because
you would have been
electric still due,
right.
Car payments are still due. So it definitely would have helped me out, but it's my own.
And a lot of us, a lot of these guys on their own, they know they have to have work comp exempt. So they just get the papers so they can do the job, and that's fine. You could get the job. I mean, the homeowner, you can't sue the homeowner now because you signed that. You're exempt.
Yeah.
I don't think you can. Maybe you can. I don't know. But the thing is like, you're screwing yourself and your business, and it's just not worth it. And put yourself on payroll, and it's just a small percentage of your pay anyways.
Yeah. And you have to pay bills anyway, and you shouldn't be paying bills out of, I got in trouble with my accountant too. You shouldn't be paying, your rent, your water bill. You shouldn't be paying those bills out of your business account anyway. So paying yourself a salary allows you to pay, your personal expenses without taking it out of the business as well, because, I used to do that when I first started too. I was paying my rent out of the business account, and then my accountant's like, oh, you can't do this.
What are you doing?
If you need money, transfer 1,000, transfer whatever you need. But she's like, don't be paying your bills out of the business account, and I didn't know.
And you don't have to pay yourself all your money on
salary, but like I got to pay rent. Like I'll transfer like $1,500 to my personal account, and stuff like that.
So just have yourself on it for something. It don't have to be your entire income.
Yeah, even $1,000 a week or something. I've heard other people do something like that. I think $1,500 a week would be nice. And then it also helps show if you ever got to get a loan. Say you want to buy a house or something like that. If I want to buy a house tomorrow, it's like I'd make no money on paper. Yeah, the business makes money a little bit, but like Rob Gerling doesn't make any money. I make peanuts. So if I ever do want to get a house or get a car, or I got some stuff now, but it's good to pay yourself something for that reason as well.
Plus, the tax bills come around, and if you're not paying in throughout the year, you're going to get hit. It's kind of nice to not have to get hit as hard. Maybe you're still doing a draw on some of it, but
Yeah. There's a lot of people around that don't have workers' comp, and you don't realize
a lot, bro.
Like this, and not even for me, but God forbid one of my employees got hurt. Like a lot of these guys, they don't have health insurance. They probably don't have any money saved up. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's just out there. And a lot of people are like that. And if they were to get hurt like this, they'd be in the same predicament. And having workers' comp, like I said, it would take care of all their bills. It would take care of all their prescriptions. It would take care of all like their physical therapy, pay them a salary. It'd be based on what they made. They pay them 2/3 of their, as long as they're out of work. If you're, a lot of us, if we're out of work, we don't get paid,
Yeah.
So it's very risky. You can get hurt with anything. And if you're out of work, a lot of small businesses, it's hard. You're not talking like a big business where that can afford to pay somebody. A lot of the small businesses, we don't work, we don't make any money. So it's definitely not something to mess around with.
I've had 3 claims since I've been in business. 2 of them with the company I sold. Both of them are bullshit. It was just made up shit with the disgruntled employee that I got rid of.
Oh,
which is fine. But last year I had a real case, and I seen it on camera, and it was scary. And it was my brother-in-law actually.
Oh no!
But it's always just short falls, bro. Like he was like 6 feet in the air. The ladder just collapsed on him, and boom, right on his back. And it's just so fast and on concrete.
Yeah, it's.
I thank God I had it, because we sent him off in an ambulance, and like now he don't have all the worry of that expense. My homeowner didn't get sued.
Yeah,
it cost me a $2,500 deductible. Like,
so you had to pay deductible on it.
So what?
No, I didn't know that's how it works. I've never had to claim anything.
Yeah.
How it works.
Well, at least that's how it was with my policy. I don't know. I know there's probably different variations of policy types, but
it sucks. I think we pay like $700. I don't know. I think it's like maybe every other month or something like that. So it is a lot and there's only 3 of us.
Let me ask you.
I'm not even on it, but
do they audit you?
Yeah. Yep. They'll make us send in like bank account statements. And a lot of times they estimated too high. They'd send me like a refund. That's happened a couple times. But yeah, it's based on your payroll. So they can go in your bank account and they'll add everything up and they'll see, how much payroll you've paid and they can figure it out like that. But it's
that's another thing what I liked about using a leasing company, because I was paying it as I go. And so like I'm not going to get hit with another bill at the end if they audit me.
Yeah.
Because how does that work if your payroll was higher than what they
charge you more? Yeah, they charge you more.
Right.
I've always had it where our payroll was less than what they estimated. So they give us it was always like a small refund, like a couple $100 or something like that. But which is probably pretty good. I'd rather get a refund than have to owe, so. Yeah. But yeah, it sucks paying it. But when you have a major accident like this, God forbid it was one of my employees, I'd be very thankful they recovered,
Yeah.
Because this is being out of work and I don't even know how long I'm going to be out of work. It could be
it's been a couple of weeks now?
Yeah. It's been a little over 2 weeks and I don't go back. My next appointment's about a week away.
How are you handling estimates and stuff right now?
So I've been using Gutter Scope.
Okay.
So when someone calls me, I basically explain to them that I had surgery. I don't tell them I fell off a ladder. But I say I recently had surgery on my ankle, so unfortunately I'm stuck home. But I say I can measure the house remotely, and then I call them and we go over the estimate and explain everything. And I've actually sold, probably 5 jobs that way. So people haven't been resistant to it. Like, hey, you got to be here in person. I mean, obviously going.
They're used to this thing now. There's a lot of companies doing virtuals now. I think people
I thought about doing FaceTime or something like that, with people to get more personable, but just over the phone, a lot of people are sympathetic. Like, oh, I understand. It's no problem. Like, just give me the quote and call me. And, I spent 20, 30 minutes going over it with them, just like I would in person. And it hasn't really been an issue not meeting people in person. But obviously as soon as I'm well again, I'm going to go back to meeting people in person, but people have been very sympathetic. And like I said, we've sold quite a bit of jobs, even without having to meet people in person.
I can't think the name of it. I did a podcast with a guy a couple months ago. It's like Stream something. I don't know. I wish I could think of it right off the bat. But they have that link. They have a link where you could text the link to the homeowner.
Yeah.
Get them on FaceTime. And what's cool about it is, how FaceTime, like you're just going to see their face or they got to turn it around. This, it'll like show you like a loom. So you'll just be a little head at the bottom. And it'll have the camera going that way so they can show you whatever at the house.
That's cool.
Yeah. So if they got like some certain like weird situation going on, and they're like, I have to show you this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like $120 a month or something. But
yeah,
I thought that was really cool. And you can even put a link on your website to where if they just want to get you on a FaceTime right away, they could get you on a FaceTime right away. So I don't know. It's pretty cool, but it does similar things as Company Cam. So it's also like, takes photos and
we use Company Cam.
Yeah.
And it's actually been very helpful because like I said, the guys go out and they take pictures of all the jobs. So I can kind of watch them and see what they're doing.
Have you figured out a close ratio yet with or too soon?
Like I don't know. I can go in Jobber and see. But last I checked, I think I was on like 57%. Which is pretty.
I mean, do you think you're still selling 50%?
Yeah. I don't think it's affected me at all. Like I don't think I've lost business over people like, oh, well, I'm not going to do business with you unless you can come out here and meet me, or I don't think it's. A lot of people have been very sympathetic, about it and understanding, and even customers, because we have a pretty full schedule right now. Even customers, like I said, I've got basically my one guy who's with me who I used to help. He's been kind of thrown into this and tried to figure out. I used to run the machine. So now he's been trying to, he's ran the machine before in a previous job, but, I kind of did everything, I was kind of showing him everything. So he's kind of had to figure everything out. So he's slower,
I bet you he's learning with this.
Yeah. He's learning a lot and he's slower. and I had to hire another guy, a helper. But they're going to be slow until they learn things, and they've made mistakes. They've not guttered parts that I wanted to guttered, like full wraps, and they've forget to do the eyebrows and stuff, and they've done, but it is what it is. They're going to learn from it, and it's there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is.
You can't get mad about little mistakes like that.
No. But that's the kind of stuff that's going to happen. And I've told some contractors too. I'm like, that they're going to make mistakes without me being there, but just know that we're going to stand by and we're going to fix it. And I haven't told homeowners that, but if stuff does happen there too, we're just going to have to make it right.
You can do that FaceTime with them too right now. Like you could do a FaceTime with them right now and have them show you before they leave the house, maybe.
Yeah. That's what. Taking as many pictures as they can for company cam really helps me out because I can go through and look like, all right, you didn't have to do this, or you should have done this, or, maybe you didn't run that an inch past the shingle like I like, or, you should have put a B elbow here instead of an A elbow, so having all the pictures I can go through and kind of just give them some tips on what I would have done differently and stuff like that. So are you
going to be finished with installing? Is this like it for you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's how I felt after my full.
I think so. I mean, I was done like all of last year for 6 months, if not more. I wasn't installing at all. I was strictly doing sales and picking up materials and stuff like that. But then over the winter, I lost my lead guy. We got slow, and his wife was, pushing him to, get like a steady job at like, with like the county with retirement and 401k and all that stuff. And so I lost my lead guy over the winter. So I kind of had to start over, and it's like, I didn't want to install, but it's like, we got all these jobs. I gotta help out. I got no choice. You got to do what you got to do.
That was your first year, wasn't it? Last year was at the end of your first year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it gets easier, man. I don't think that my first or second year, I had consecutive work in December or January. But then after like year 3, 4, it was like, I always had work after that. And
It was
able to keep.
It was pretty rough for sometimes. We'd go a week or two without anything, and these guys calling me, and I felt so bad. I'm like, organize the trailer, clean the trailer, let's do this, but you can only do so much, like make up stuff like that for them to do. And it's.
Have you thought about Christmas lights this year?
Yeah, it's definitely on my radar. But like I said, the only thing that's really turning me off is that I have such a hard time staffing, gutters. That's like, geez, I'm so scared to take on another business because I've just had a very bad luck, finding staff, people to work. And I think that's a lot of people, and it seems like no matter what you pay, it's hard, trying to find somebody. Just recently, the first week I had one guy, go through all his paperwork. I added him to my payroll, got all his documents, didn't show up the first day. I had another guy a couple days later. What's that?
You said a heat stroke?
No, he didn't show up the first day.
Oh, he didn't show up. Yeah.
But he went through all the paperwork, went through all the process just to not show up the first day. And then
honestly, man, it's you're not ever. It's not like everyone makes bad hires. It's like, that people are going to show their best face when you meet them, and on that in an introduction, they're always like their best self. But the salesman I just hired is not working out, and I'm getting ready. Get rid of him and start hitting the quotes again starting tomorrow, actually. So sometimes it's just like that in the beginning.
Yeah. So in the same week, I had one guy not show up his first day. Like my other guy was waiting for him. He never showed up. And still till this day, he has never texted me back. I'm like, hey man, what, did you change your mind? Like just ignore me completely. And then I had another guy work today. And then he texted me that night, like some nonsense that he got a call back from another job or something like that. But I know he just didn't like the job for whatever reason. And then I was able to find another guy who started this past week, and I was joking around with my other guy. I'm like, he's got to make it through the first day at least, then we know he's staying. But he's been on time. He's been great so far. So, but yeah, staffing's always been a problem for me. It's I don't know.
It's harder in the beginning, Rob, because like people don't take you as seriously yet because you're not like a real established company.
I know.
It's believe it or not, man, it's easier to run a bigger business than a smaller business.
Yeah, I know it's kind of, not having a shop, not having a place to do proper interviews.
Well, when you have poor crews and something goes wrong with one employee, you move some guys around and you still got 4 crews. You know what I'm saying?
But when you only got one crew, 2 guys, one's out, one's got you lose one, you're like,
you're a lot more vulnerable.
It's hard for one guy, my guy who's working for a while by himself. And houses with a lot of small pieces, he could do no problem. It takes a lot longer. But we had one house that had like these 2, like I think they were like 60-foot pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So we literally had this whole house all done, but he couldn't do those 2 pieces because we had no one to help. And I'm calling like day labor places, and none of them will do anything with ladders. I don't know if you ever heard about that. Like these temp places, I called 3 of them, and they won't do any kind of roofing construction like that. They only do like cleaning and like staffing and like moving and that kind of stuff. But yeah, none of these temporary labor, because I was like, oh, I'll pay a guy whatever they want, $250 a day or whatever they want, at least just go help them to hang those pieces so we could finish these jobs. But yeah, all these temporary staffing agencies, none of them would do anything with ladders or they consider it like roofing, gutters. It's a safety thing. They won't work with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very hard because, like I said, we had one house that we couldn't finish because I couldn't find anybody to go down there and just help them hang up.
You got 2 guys though now, right?
Yeah, now I got 2 guys. That's no problem. Yeah.
How much has production went down with you off the truck?
I don't know exactly, but I would say maybe 30-40%, not half as slow, but definitely not as fast without me being there. And just like today, I went and checked on them, and it was like 10 o'clock and they hadn't hung a single piece of gutter yet. I'm like, guys, it's 10 a.m. Like we should at least have something up. And they were messing with fascia, cutting up scrap. And I'm like it's going to be noon, half the day is gone before you guys even got a piece of gutter up. I'm hoping to be done.
How big of a job was it?
It was like 200 feet.
Okay.
But like they should at least had something done, and it's kind of the things I got to deal with. I got no choice, because I can't go help and I can't do anything, and what happens is like, so now that, and we're getting rain too right now, so that's going to mess up things. And now it's like next week's all full. So now this job that was supposed to be finished today is going to roll into next week, and it messes up the whole next week. So it's challenging, it's something you got to deal with, but
that's the thing about business, right? Is, you have to be fluid like water, like Bruce Lee says. You got to be able to adapt and be able to flow. And like now you switched. Like now you're doing virtuals, which probably was unconceivable. Like you didn't even think that was possible.
No,
but now you're doing it and you're selling.
Yeah,
and I actually our sales mentor Chris Dabrowski, with Gutter Growth, he does all virtuals. The guy's got all virtuals. The guy's got like a 72% close rate.
Really? I didn't know that.
And he's getting good money. Really? And so like it's definitely a model. It's possible.
It would save a lot of time because we've got a lot of drive time. I can only probably do like 4 estimates a day here because the traffic, and
you could probably do 8 virtually or 10.
I know. Yeah. I would love to be able to do it. I mean, some of these houses you got to go look at, because the gutter scopes are pretty accurate, but they're not going to tell you offsets. They're not going to tell you, sometimes they get the downspouts wrong. The footage is usually pretty accurate, but sometimes, they'll tell you that it's a 1-story downspout, or it's really a 2-story downspout. So
have you tried Eagle View?
Yeah.
The only thing is it's slow. I mean, it takes like 4 to 8 hours to get it.
I mean, gutter scopes are pretty good. I usually get them back in like 2 hours, 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah, and I tell people, as soon as I get the report back, I'll figure it out. And I tell them it might be the next day, and a lot of times it's the same day.
They don't have the side pictures though, so you can see the height.
They do, but it's still kind of hard to see. And it doesn't. Offsets, the downspouts are sometimes off, but I go on Zillow, Redfin, and I can look at pictures of the house to be able to figure out a lot. So it's worked, and I got to make it work, until I'm back out there. And
sometimes I feel like it's easier to sell virtually. Like, and I'm not selling virtually right now, but I've always sold cleanouts virtually. And when I switched to doing that, my close rate went up on cleanouts.
Yeah, it's like maybe people don't want to be bothered with having to meet someone in person and having to, set up a time for them to come over, and maybe they just would rather do it all over the phone and not have to be bothered. But some of these houses you got to put eyes on, just because there's
no doubt
that, you know, the eagle view and the gutter scopes don't catch, you know, so.
Or at least, you know, before you actually do the install, go do a, you know, a quick look at it, you know, if they commit.
Drain adapters were another thing that, you know, obviously we don't know about, you know, because if they're going from 5-inch to 6-inch and they got underground drains, you got to use the 3x4 adapters. And, you know, we missed a couple of those on a house because I didn't know that it had them, you know. So that's
how
one
do you
thing.
handle that? Just upsell it?
Yeah, to the customer. Unfortunately, you know, I didn't know you had these, so it's your invoice is going to be a little bit more. You know, we charge like $12 a piece for them. You know, some houses have like 5 or 6, so it's not a huge expense, but
yeah,
one of those things that you tell me, hey, you know, I didn't catch these. We got to add them on. You know, people are okay with that.
Are you selling those gutter gates?
No. Grant did give me a sample. I like it. Just haven't got around to pushing it or anything like that. I think what I've considered is even using them as just like a complimentary, like a way to sell the job. Be like, all right, I'll throw in gutter gates for you.
He's getting ours with our logo on it.
I think that's so cool.
Dope, right?
That is so cool. I wish I could do that. Well, I mean, I kind of just got to pay. You got to order a pallet or something like that of them to get your name.
Something like that. Yeah.
Well, not a pallet, but it's a pretty big order.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of our jobs have ground drains, so a lot of these
Tennessee drained everything. I remember.
So that's the other thing too, is we wouldn't have a whole lot of use because a lot of these houses we do, they have drains already. So
are you selling drainage or no?
No. We were starting to get into like cleaning drains, but obviously now with everything going on, I need to the gutters. But I did buy a pressure washer. I bought the tools, you know, the snake and stuff like that, and I was looking into getting a camera and stuff like that. But it's going to be on the back burner for now until I get back on my feet, because that's something I need to be involved in. So
what's next as far as like, you still don't have a boot or nothing on right now?
No, right now I've got the temporary splint. And like I said, I go in about a week, and they're going to open it up and inspect it, do x-rays, see how it's healing and stuff like that. And then they'll determine if I get a boot or if I get a cast.
And in the boot, you should be able to walk on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Boots, from what they tell me, a lot more mobility. You can get like a knee scooter and you'll be able to put weight on it and stuff like that. So that's what I'm hoping for, because I'm getting pretty stir crazy being stuck in the house and not being able to do anything.
You're a pretty active guy.
Yeah, the first week it was fun. You know, I'm like, this is nice. But the other thing too is, you know, when they first told me I'm going to have all this time off, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to watch all these TV shows. I'm going to do this. I am on my phone and computer all day doing work stuff, ordering materials, sending invoices, just doing all sorts of paperwork and making phone calls and answering them when they have questions on jobs. So it's like, I've had no free time. I'm thinking I'm going to be laying in bed all day, just sitting there watching, you know, all these TV shows, but I am working 8 to 5 all day. Actually, earlier than that, you know, it's interesting. And it's like, I used to do all that before while I was on the job. You know, at the phone ring on the job, I'd have to go to the truck and take the call. If I had to order materials, I'd have to, you know, I was kind of mixing all that in from the job site, you know, being out in the field. But now it's like, I'm obviously not working in the field, but I'm still super busy.
Are you going to hire a third guy for them?
I'd like to, even someone just to like cut up scraps, someone to, you know, clean up for them and, you know, just kind of do labor stuff for now but I'd like to, if it'll increase production. And, you know, cause like I said, we're booked pretty much up until the end of June right now, and a lot of good jobs too. Not really, not even a ton of contractor work. These are a lot of good full houses with full alley racks, you know, like $8,000, $9,000, $12,000 jobs, you know, some really good jobs.
You've been having pretty good luck with the Alurex?
Yeah. It's been great. I've actually had customers reach out to me that knew about the product.
Looking for it.
Yeah. They saw it somewhere. I should start asking where they see it, but people have reached out to me, and I don't know we're on the Alurex site as like a registered installer or something like that. Mm-hmm. But people have reached out to me like, yep, I want T-Rex, I want Double Pro and the full house. And it's basically a sold job because they're telling you what they want already, you know, and
they like the product.
Yeah.
It was strong, man.
Maybe their neighbor's getting it or something like that. And it's been very good. Can't complain.
There's not a whole lot of it down here. I haven't seen any of it, but we're starting to install some of it. We did a full wrap a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was just impressed at how strong it was.
Yeah. Yeah. They're doing a job with it today. The only thing my guys don't like is that you have to measure the downspouts ahead of time.
Oh yeah.
Covers over it.
Yeah.
I mean, they do sell access panels, but we don't have them. The supplier doesn't stock them. But you got to measure the downspouts ahead of time, and we typically would do the downspouts after we get all the girder up. We'd pop the holes. So that's one thing that is a little slower for them because they're having to measure ahead of time. And
I mean, you don't have to. Like, I don't know, but you don't you don't do the X's though. You're doing outlet tubes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you got that top sealed out, there's no way to get an outlet in there, unless it's like an end piece you can squeeze in there from this, but still. And then you got to leave 4 inches on each side to do the miters too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, it's a great product. We've had very good luck with
it. The job's double the price, and you're not having to go back and put leaf guard in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like.
Yeah. No, we've sold a ton of it, and it's been great. And they're like I said, they're a great company. They actually, a couple of my buddies, and they got together and did a GoFundMe for me. And Ellie Rex actually.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
It was very nice of them.
They showed some love. Yeah,
it was very nice of them to do that. And that's just the kind of guys they are. Like we've met them at all the gutter conventions, and they're just super nice people. And then, like I said, as soon as they saw that, they were very generous donation. It was very nice.
That was nice to see the gutter community get together and
yes.
kind of help out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm the last person to ask for help. I've just never.
You didn't want to. I reached out to you at first. You're like,
yeah, everybody did. And then finally, Kyle kept asking me, and he's like, dude, let us help you. I'm like, let me see what happens. I'm all right now. He's like, no, man. He's like, you're gonna be out of work. Like you don't have insurance. You don't have, you're not covered under workers' comp. Like, let us help you. And it's very nice because it's one less thing you got to worry about. It's like you're stuck in bed. You're kind of thinking nobody cares. And then you're seeing all these donations come in. Some of these people I've never even met give me $500.
Yeah.
I message them and thank them, but it's like some of these people, I have to look them up. I don't even know who they are. And it's like a stranger's giving me $500. And then meanwhile, like some of my close friends from back home, like they didn't even give me $1. The strangers give me like $500. So
they know, man. They know what it would be like if they were in that situation. Yeah, it's their gutter guys like
community definitely came through, and it was very nice.
Yep.
And Colby Armstrong, he gave me a nice donation. I worked for him briefly when I moved to Nashville. So I thought that was very nice of him to do, and just everybody's been very nice and helped me out. Frank Hennigan's pushed it pretty good. You guys have pushed it. It was shared in pretty much all the gutter groups, and a lot of people helped out. And like I said, I still got a couple people to message, but I went through and personally messaged all these people and thanked them, because it's nice, being stuck in bed that you don't have to worry about, all right, how am I going to pay my rent, or how am I going to do this, because I'm not working.
You already got enough worries. You got to worry how to heal.
Yeah. So it's very nice for that sense that, that peace of mind that, you got a nice little cushion that, because I might not be back to work till like September, and yeah, they're working, but they're not as productive as when I was there, like we're probably barely making anything, like we're not getting rich,
You know what though? I mean, this is the first time this guy's had to do workout on his own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I remember my first job out on my own. I was slow as shit, bro.
Yeah.
So
me too.
Probably gonna start speeding up here.
Others took me forever to get the grasp of, like,
yeah,
cutting and like measuring, and I messed up so many times. It took me a while. Like it was not easy for me, So that's why, like, I can't get mad at him, and I'm being patient with them, and yeah, it's a lot more labor. It's costing me, because they're not as fast, but in the long run, it'll pay off. I look at it as I'm investing in them,
Oh yeah.
In the long run, they'll become fast and they'll be very productive.
You need them to get good anyways, bro, because you don't need to get back in that truck. Like,
But right now, like I said, they are kind of slow, but they're learning, so it's going to be a long game. But yeah, I don't plan on ever installing again. I need to focus on running the business and, being safe, and stuff like that. So
I personally, I don't think any owner should install. I don't. And I know a lot of guys love it. I loved it at one point.
I don't necessarily like it, but it's like one of those things, like you got jobs that got to be done, and you just had a guy quit. You got to you got to do what you got to do. It sucks, but you got to pay your bills. So
yeah, and you got to love the business more than you love the job of it.
Yeah. I mean, I did like installing at one time, but now it's like I have so much to do. Like I said, I'm literally on the phone all day doing stuff. So I got plenty to do. I don't need to install, and I'm actually getting a lot more done. A lot of stuff that I put off, so it's nice.
Let me ask you, what was your first thoughts when it happened? Were you like, fuck, I'm gonna have to shut down the business, or like, you had fears about it?
Well, it was pretty scary because, like I said, I've never been in this predicament before. I've never had to rely on other people, because even if I lost all my installers, I could always go work by myself, and get jobs done. So this is now like the first time I've ever had to rely on other people. And my guy that was there is like, you got to finish this up by yourself. And he did finish that house for us. Took him like 2 days, I think, for a couple hours work. But like I said, it is what it is. He had to learn. But I even looked into getting sub crews. I messaged around and I talked to a lot of sub crews. That was one thing I was looking into as well, is subbing some work out, because I had a lot of work on the calendar and I had to push stuff back because I was in the hospital for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And now with my guy being super, not super slow, but being slower and, not having a second guy as well, a lot of stuff we had on the schedule got pushed back by like a week, and customers have been very understanding, and super, sympathetic towards me, which has helped. But yeah, it was very scary because, like I said, I've never been in this predicament before. I've never had to stay in the hospital. I've never had to rely on other people, and you're stuck in bed and you can't, these jobs got to get done, but you can't do anything. I couldn't go help out if I tried,
Yeah.
So yeah, I did look into sub crews, but some of the prices I got were like more than we charged. And I'm like, geez, this ain't going to work. So it was basically pounding Indeed and trying to find somebody to start ASAP. And like I said, I am not opposed to getting a third guy if they can be productive and be able to move through jobs faster. A 3-man crew, I think, would be
trying.
Yeah. Yep. I'm open to it. And I just want to get this other guy I just added, though, get him up to speed first, get him to be able to do miters, be able to do downspouts, stuff like that. So before I add another guy, because then I've been on 3-man crews before. It seems like sometimes, a 3-man crew isn't productive as a 2-man crew. One guy ends up kind of stepping back and doing less, So
well, it's best when 2 of them are skilled and one of them's a helper. It's hard when one of them's skilled and 2 of them aren't.
Yeah,
because then it's almost like the 2 ain't. It's not really 2 people. you know what I mean?
And it's hard that I'm not there to tell them, all right, 2 guys should be measuring, 1 guy should be doing takedown, or like I'm not there to tell them what to do as well. So
have you thought about coming up with like a system on paper for them, like a step by step, like the order?
Yeah,
should be done, and then
come
up with these systems.
Yeah,
later.
I've kind of told them, like, when you guys first get there, both do the takedown, and then 2 you guys should measure. 1 person should start making the pieces. 1 person start hanging up the larger pieces that 2 people got to do. You guys do. Then after you get all the gutter up, then start the miter, start the downspouts, and then cut up the scrap at the end of the day, because they want to start cutting up scrap in the morning. I'm like, no, you can cut up scrap in the dark. You don't need to be cutting up scrap in the middle of the day when it's nice out. Get all the gutter, downspout, the miters done first. Worry about the scrap to last, but they want to waste an hour cutting up scrap in the middle of the day. I'm like, no, wait till the end of the day for that, So it's kind of, teaching them a system to do, and be productive, Yeah. That's another thing. And it's hard that I try to do everything from my bed, but like I said, I drove the truck today and I hobbled outside in crutches and was able to get in the truck. And luckily my right leg's still good. So I was able to go to the job site and kind of be one of those guys that sits in the truck and yells orders out. But at least I got a legit reason why I can't get out of the truck, But
yeah, man,
I don't want to be that stereotypical boss that sits in the AC and watches the guys work. But unfortunately, I can't really do anything.
Well, I mean, eventually, like, you just got to fire yourself. Tell the guys not to let you do anything. Yeah. Yeah. But no, man, it's business is tough, especially when you get a wrench thrown in the system like this, and just all of a sudden everything's changed and you got to do everything different, and it takes a lot of tenacity, so you should be proud of yourself that you're plugging along and like, you're not going to let this stop you.
Thank you.
Because
it was, like I said, this has never happened to me, and it happened so fast, like literally you think you're working on a house, you're going to finish up, you're going to get done early. Like I was planning with my fiance. I'm like, oh, it's Memorial Day. You know, I'm going to work till like noon. Then we're going to go out, go downtown, you know, go see some bands, get some drinks, you know, enjoy Memorial Day, maybe get some food somewhere. And it's like all that changes.
Yeah.
I had no idea I was going to be in the hospital for 3 days, and I've never had to spend a night in the hospital before, you know, and it's not just hard on me. It's hard on everybody else. You know, she's having to wait on me. She's having to spend time in the hospital. She's having to, you know, do everything for me, go fill my truck up for me, go, you know, take out my garbage. Like just, I used to do so much stuff, you know, I've got fish. She's got to feed my fish for me, let all the dogs out. You know, it's so much stuff that you don't realize that you have to do. And, you know, you really rely on somebody else to help you, and you don't realize that, you know, somebody to cook for you, somebody to do everything for you. You don't realize. I couldn't even go to the bathroom at first, you know, I'm having to pee in these freaking things, you know, someone having to empty those things. And it's just, there's so much stuff you don't realize that you're incapable of doing, you know, and it is frustrating, you know, but that's like I said, though, that was nice sitting in bed and you kind of feel like no one cares and you're all alone. But then, you know, you're seeing all these GoFundMe things
helping you
and helping me out. And not only that, but so many people reached out. So many people text me. So many people called me. People that I haven't even talked to in a long time, you know, check on me. And that was very nice as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like my phone was blowing up so much. It was not really annoying because it was very nice, you know, but it was
overwhelming.
So many people reached out. Yeah. So many texts, so many phone calls. And a lot of people would call me. They'd call me one day and call me a couple days later, just check on me again, you know. It wasn't like they would just call and I wouldn't, you know, a lot of people were calling me multiple times to check on me, you know. So it was very nice to make you feel like, and that's what you really need to when you're sitting in bed and you can't do anything. You really need kind of that emotional support, and it's nice.
I mean, honestly, man, a lot of times we think that we're alone or that, you know, it's all lost. It's not. And, you know, the whole world revolves around a bunch of people making this happen. Like if it wasn't for people, like we wouldn't have anything, you know, so it takes people, but sometimes a situation like this shows it to you that people do care, and there are people out there helping. And
like I said, it's easy to get in your head and think that you're all alone and that, you know, you kind of get depressed. And being in the house too has never been good for me. I've always been someone that's out and
good for
like to be busy, you know. So being stuck home it was very depressing too, you know. So but
yeah, man, be proud that you're plugging along. It's not going to stop you, and just you know, just
I'm very happy that you're able to keep working and get stuff done, even if they're not the fastest right now. But like, so it's going to be an investment in them, you know, because eventually they are going to get it together and be able to pound out jobs. And so,
yeah, no doubt, bro.
Yep.
Good deal. So yeah, guys, make sure you have your work comps, keep yourself covered. You know, it's dangerous. Stay safe out there, protect your guys, like focus on safety. And, you know, I didn't always do that personally because I was out there doing my own work, and I got pictures of me doing the craziest shit that I won't even put online because it's so crazy and I don't want to like condone it.
Yeah.
You know, I could have died a dozen times from the stuff that I was doing. So, I mean, it's not worth it. You know, put a harness on, strap up, you know, and it's always when you least expect it. It's when you're the most careless on a 6-foot ladder or a 6-foot wall or a, you know, 8-foot ladder. It's, you know,
and it will change your life permanently. You know, you don't, even if you're down for a couple months, you know, if you're an owner operator and you're down for a couple months, you're screwed. You know?
Yeah. I mean, imagine if you didn't have these two guys, man.
I know.
Like,
I'd be having to find sub crews and it'd be a mess.
Some people wouldn't even try, and just the business is now, you know?
Yeah. So make sure you got your workers' comp. If you think you're covered, call them and double check if you're an owner and you're working in the field. The other thing is make sure you got health insurance. You know, I don't have health insurance because I had called around and it was very expensive. They wanted like $1,000 an employee. And I've been supposed to get on my fiance's because she's a physical therapist, but they only have like open enrollment like once a year. So we were waiting for that, but definitely make sure you got health insurance as well, because you never know when something's going to happen. You don't, you know, like I said, I was planning on going and finishing up this job, working till noon, and then boom, I'm in the hospital for a couple of days. You know, you never know when it's going to happen. So it's definitely a life lesson, and I hope other people can learn from this.
So good deal, brother. Thanks for coming on here again.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
So
maybe next time we'll have a better topic, not something so depressing.
We're going to hear you killing it with 2 crews.
Yes. We'll do a follow-up when I'm all healed up and back out there.
We'll do it. Sounds
Thank
good,
you.
bro.
Thank you.
See you, brother.
Good day.